Hey, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
He's back. Joel Malm right there if you're watching Facebook Live, YouTube Live. And Dan, I didn't realize that I knew he was a rock star, but I was looking at the endorsements on the book, Love Slows Down, How to Keep Anger and Anxiety from Ruining Life's Relationships. There it is if you're watching. Mm-hmm. It's a great book. But listen to this. I don't know why I didn't read the endorsements before. Bob Goff, Mark Batterson, Margaret Feinberg, Pastor Matt Barnett, who we've talked to a number of times out in L.A., the Dream Center in L.A. All I can say, Joel, is now, wow. That's all I can say. Just wow.
All those guys have hiked with me and ladies. So Bob Goff climbed to the top of, I took him to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
And Margaret, we've done Scotland and Maine. Mark, we've done Grand Canyon, Inca Trail. Matt Barnett. Well, Matt Chandler went on the Inca Trail with us. Matt Barnett rafted Grand Canyon with us.
That's awesome.
That's how I know those
guys.
Out
names Matt Chandler went to the Inca Trail with me.
That's how our organization started, the Outdoor Adventures.
Yeah.
Is I would get these guys that are pretty influential and I'd say, hey, you want to go hiking, and instead of speaking to 12,000, we'll speak to 12, but you'll be doing it while we're going to Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
So that's how I managed to get some of these guys to hike with me.
That's awesome, man.
How did you come up with that idea? I know your dad is brilliant, because we're going to talk about him in a minute being on the podcast with you.
Well, so I started out leading 4-month backpacking trips around the world. So we had teams that we would fly into Hong Kong, smuggle Bibles. All right, I probably shouldn't say that out publicly. But I'm never getting back into China. Anyway, then we'd work our way through China, up through northern Mongolia, down. We'd go down to Tibet, Mount Everest, base camp there, and then we'd come back. That was a 4-month trip. We had another one. We'd fly one way to Central America and then work our way back by ground to the U.S. border. So I did that for several years. I started that organization, and then I got married, and I just realized it's not going to work.
Yeah.
That put the kibosh on it, didn't it?
That's right.
Now,
go ahead.
Did you do that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you do that growing up? You've gone around the globe, dude.
Yeah, I mean, ish. My dad, we brought teams down to Guatemala growing up. So I kind of got used to the team thing, hosting teams. And when I was climbing a mountain in Russia, and I got this vision to start taking people on outdoor adventures. And then we'd combine it with mission work. So we would go, and people thought I had the whole thing planned out. They'd be like, well, what are we doing next? I'm like, it's on a need to know basis. But really, I would literally just book the arrival and our return. And I'd kind of have some key points we needed to get to on the way. And people that were expecting us, but usually we just kind of winged it for 4 months and just figured out what we were doing next. And God always opened opportunities. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
What we were going to do next and places to serve. And so anyways, did it that way, got married, and had this idea to start leading outdoor adventures around the world. I wrote a bunch of, I went to a big conference. It was in an arena right there in Atlanta. I won't name the conference, but then I was like, this is so cool, except it's me and 25,000 other people. I want to hang out with that guy down there speaking.
Yeah.
So I started writing to different people that were at that event. And I was like, hey, would you want to do this? And nobody, they're all like, oh, we've prayerfully considered your request. No.
We've gotten some of those letters.
Yeah. After prayerfully considering, since we got your email 30 seconds ago, no. So
that's funny.
So we finally one day I read this book by a guy named Mark Batterson, and I wrote a book about this too called Vision Map, charting a step-by-step course for your biggest hopes and dreams. Anyways, it's about how to start stuff. So I at the end, I finally finished the book, and the next morning about 4 a.m. I got this distinct feeling that I needed to contact Mark Batterson. Did not know how to do that, so I guessed at his email address, and I wrote him an email. And like 30 minutes later, he wrote me back. He was up writing. He's like, I'm all over this idea. Come up here to DC. So I flew up to DC. He gave me money to start the organization. He's like, count me in on all of your trips, man. So he started coming on trips with me, and then that's how it kind of built. And then I ended up writing a book about how I started that organization, and that's how I got into the writing world. So, and in the middle of that, I got a master's degree in counseling, discovered I don't like counseling, and I realized, oh, This is my counseling. I take guys in the outdoors. Change of pace plus change of place equals change of perspective. That's
good.
Yeah, Mark Batterson came up with that. He's good at those pithy little Twitter things.
Yeah,
so, so that's how I started doing it.
And so he's good at that, and you're good at guessing email addresses. So those two things together can go a long way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not generally a formula I would recommend for people.
All right, Joel. Hang on a second now. No offense, okay? You've got Mark Batterson, who is, huge, right? Because he did the DC thing in the churches and they're all over the place. Did he know you? Did he know your dad? Did he know anybody? That's just bizarre.
He was a very brave man.
Yeah, he was. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, and that's how we got started. And then Mark wrote about me in one of his books. Margaret wrote about, and so now we've got a flood of people. I only bring in one big name author usually a year. And then, so anyways, that's how that all worked out.
Now, I'm sure this is a question that you hate, but of all the places you've been,
yeah.
what is the most unique, coolest, where you just had the biggest God moment? Like, wow, this is amazing.
Oh, the biggest God moment. Okay.
Or the most beautiful place you went. Whichever.
Most beautiful, hands down, is the Milford Sound in New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's like paradise. I also really love Yongshuo in China. It's where you have these big karst mountains, the kind of the weird rock formation mountains. Of course, you love Switzerland, Lauterbrunnen.
Oh, yeah.
I love Mount Elbrus is where I kind of got the vision for what I'm doing today. So I was climbing that mountain in southern Russia. That's a great, amazing place too. And then I always love the Inca Trail. But the place that's super dear to my heart is Guatemala. That's where I grew up. So I'm always, I was kind of in favor of that country above all.
Okay, cool.
Love that. Joel Malm, you got to get his book, Love Slows Down. He's got other books. Check out his website, his Facebook page, and try to guess his email and send him an email.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe you can be on a trip with him.
Hey, I got to tell you that you got to check out his podcast too. Now, we've talked about his podcast, but I've never really listened to one of his podcasts. Honestly, how many people, we're not as famous as Joel, but with all the people that we interview, it's like, you got to pick and choose.
Yeah.
So I thought,
hold on. You just reminded me of Owen Wilson and Zoolander when they said, "Who are your influences?" And he said, "I'd have to say Sting. I've never really listened to his music, but I really appreciate the fact that he's doing it." Sorry, go ahead.
That's cool. That's funny. So I thought, okay, well, I do want to talk about the book, but I want a little more depth. I just want to listen to a podcast. I want to read some more about Joel and what he does, And so I would listen on Spotify. You can listen to it. It's called, what's it called? The Malm podcast. If I could speak, I'd be in broadcasting. So I listened to the podcast. You don't know what to expect, right? It looks good. You're great to interview. We have a great time. But the podcast, if you listen to it, the content is amazing. It sounds good. But you sit down most of the time, I guess, and talk with your dad. I haven't listened to all of them. Just listen to this one right now. Does it really turn out good? The topics that you guys come up with, or you come up with, is really off the chain as well. The stuff that we're thinking and talking about, like how to respond when your church lets you down, right?
Yeah.
Does everything happen for a reason? Geez, if I hear that one more time, but you guys talk about it, right? It's good stuff. Confessions of Pastors and how not to politicize everything. Thank you. I think that was right around election time.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So sitting down.
The podcast changed the world. Nothing got politicized as soon as that episode went live.
I felt the change. Suddenly there, it was just
there's a shift in the force.
Yeah. I knew it. I felt it.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate that much. But sitting down or here in the office, here in the studio, and listening to the podcast, and then you and your dad, you flow really well. You sound like you're friends. It sounds like it's not, oh, that's my dad. I know you have respect for him, but you guys flow together and you don't cut each other off. I always cut Dan off, but you really flow real well and your content is amazing. How did you come up with the idea a podcast? Yeah, I could see you doing just your own podcast. It would rock. But how'd you come up with having your dad on it?
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't think it was that novel of a concept, but everybody's like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So it wasn't me. I just guessed at it. So anyway, somebody was like, you need to start a podcast, 5 years ago. It was like, get in on the podcasting. I'm like, I don't want to have to line up guests. And I mean, I don't know how you guys do it, lining up guests just over and over again. And I don't know that many people, after I visit like with 10 people, I'm done. That's all I know.
That's why we keep calling you back, because you said yes at one time. Man,
I thought I interviewed well.
No, that's it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So anyways, I thought, what could I do that doesn't require me creating, you always want to find what's, they say, if you find what you love to do, you'll never have to work a day in your life. I was like, what do I do? I was like, sitting around and talking to my dad. My dad he is the wisest man I know. Wisdom is right application of knowledge. He is the wisest man I know. And so I would say probably 90% of what I know, he doesn't like it when I say that, but 90% of what I know, I learned from him anyway. So I was like, I'm just going to sit around and talk with dad about stuff. And we disagree sometimes. I'm like, that's a couple weeks ago, I called him. I was like, that's a Sunday school answer. Give me some beef here. So I love doing it. It takes very little effort. It's the production part of it too, but one of our faithful listeners will listen at the start of it and he's like, this production quality is horrible. Let me fix this for you. So we're like, sweet. So
you sure did. I mean, it sounds awesome.
Yeah. Wow. So we love it. I mean, glad you listened.
Did you have to convince your dad at all? Or he's like, oh yeah.
So he gets really uptight. It's funny. He gets really uptight and he's like, I've got to have prepared notes. I'm like, Dad, come on, man. But it's funny. He's really free flowing guy in general. He's very chill. And I'm the uptight one, but when it comes to this, he's the one that gets all uptight. And he's like, so I do a lot of the kind of coaxing him on and guiding questions. And so, yeah, but he's, I think it's a pretty comfortable thing for him. So,
yeah, cool.
Love that. Joel Malm, check out the podcast, the Malm podcast, MALM podcast, and check out the book. What's been going on with the book? Have you heard anything new about it? Responses or?
Yeah, I mean, got a lot of angry people.
Angry and anxious people are.
That's right. No, it's been good. I think the biggest response has been, we've written some YouVersion devos for it. YouVersion Bible reading plans, and I think we're up to over 150,000 downloads on that.
Wow.
And so a lot of people, I have been getting a lot of people saying they've been reading it. It's been helping them see things from a different light. That's kind of one of my goals is, there's nothing new under the sun, but if you can figure out a new way to reframe it and pitch it in a new way, it can usually help people get past what you've already heard before. So that's my goal with it. So I try to write in a creative way that is something you maybe already know kind of inside of you. C.S. Lewis said most of us don't need to be taught as much as reminded. So reminded, but from a different angle, hopefully. So.
All right, Joel, I see the map behind you there. Where's your next big adventure coming? Do you know yet?
The kitchen.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It seems like we've got Peru on the horizon. Peru was supposed to happen last year, didn't happen. So Inca Trail would be one. And then we're probably going to do one in Maine again this year in the fall. I think we'll bump it to the fall.
Wow.
So it's doing that. And then, yeah, I don't know. Who knows? We might have some other stuff come up once the world opens up.
Yes, fingers crossed. The world opens up, except for our office that can stay closed, but everything else would open up. That would be great.
You're still not back, huh?
We're still at home. Yeah, I have like pajama pants on. You just can't see them because
this is the way to go, man.
The beauty of it all is the fact that if we were still doing it in the studio, we wouldn't be able to talk to people like you. Mm-hmm. We wanted to expand, to broaden our guests, and since then, I mean, we've talked to you. We've talked to Matt Barnett. I mean, we couldn't get him here, and we can't afford to send, bring you. I mean, we could put you on a bus, but it would take a year to get here.
Well, if you could afford the fuel for my G5, then we'd do it. But
there you go. We can't afford that either. So Especially with gas prices the way they are now. So,
Joel Malm, check out his book. I'll hold it up again. Love Slows Down. We've talked to him about it many times, but it's a great book. How to Keep Anger and Anxiety from Ruining Life's Relationships. There it is. And you can go to Amazon, probably go to your website too to get it.
Yep.
Joel Malm. Joel is spelled like Joel, but it's Joel Malm, MALM.com. And hey, honestly, check out these podcasts. They're really, really good. Joel, always a pleasure. You are a rock star, dude. I don't know why you keep accepting our invitation now. It's just,
we'll keep sending them because you said yes. So
yeah, I love it. I love talking to you guys. Yeah.
It's fun. Blessings to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.